to South Africa, to South America, to everywhere you can imagine, to Australia. The Panovich was there. So the Panovich went, of all places, he went to Rome to raise money. And he had a Talmud who was a doctor, who was studying to be a doctor, who was going to medical school in Italy. So the Panovich arrives one night, late at night, and he calls this Talmud and he says, Moshe, come pick me up. Wir müssen gehen zusammen. I have to go somewhere. Talmud tells him, he says, Rebbe, it's 11 o'clock at night. It's raining. Can't this wait until tomorrow? He says, no, get a cab. I want you to come right over to my apartment, my hotel. I want you to pick me up. The Panovich haste. Guy hires a cab, gets to the Panovich hotel, picks up the Panovich and he says, tells the Talmud to tell the cab driver, he says, take me to Shar Titus. Take me to the gate of Titus. The gate of Titus in Rome, there's a gate that depicts the Churban Bayesheni, when the Romans destroyed Klal Yisrael. There's a very famous picture. It's an arch of Titus, arch of Titus. There's a picture of a Yid carrying a menorah with the caption in Judah Kapta, which means Judah, the land of Judah, has been captured. He says, I want to go there at 11 o'clock at night on a rainy night. The Panovich goes to the arch of Titus, the one that was Machrid the Beis HaMikdash, Titus HaRasha. The Panovich gets out of the cab, he straightens his tie, he fixes his kapote, and he says, Titus, ich bin da, avu seid ihr? Titus, I'm here! Panovich die ganze Panovich ist ausgehargert. Klal Yisrael ist ausgehargert. Aber ich bin da! Aber wo seid ihr? The great Holy Roman Empire. Not holy, not empire. Not nothing. If anyone would have imagined, who are you going to bet on? The Romans or the Jews? You couldn't get odds. But ich bin da. Avu seid ihr? That's Eden. Ein li Yehudi li Yisyayish klal. Loi binyone ha-nefesh, v'loi binyone ha-guf. Yehuda ata yaducha achecha. We're called Yidden. We're called Jews. Because Jews don't give up. There's another reason that you shouldn't be miyayish. Because Yush immobilizes the most potent weapon that any of us possess. And that is the power of tefillah. The koyach ha-tefillah. But there's an interesting phenomenon when it comes to tefillah. And that is, the more you believe in your tefillahs, the more effective they are. The less you believe in a tefillah, the less effective they are. Do you hear that? Do you understand that? If you daven and you go through the motions because davening, but you really don't believe it, it's not as effective. You believe in tefillah, you put your neshama in tefillah, you actually truly believe that it can help, then the tefillah has more koyach. And I'll bring you two rayas. They're not my rayas. They're rayas in the Altaf and Kelm. The Gemara says that on Yom Kippur, when the Kohen Gadol went in the Kodshei Kodshim, he was mispalel a tefillah ktsara, and it was mispalel for the tzrachim of Klal Yisrael. The last thing that the Kohen Gadol said, Shelo yikansu lefanecha tfilas ovrei drachim. Don't listen to the tefillas of the wayfarers, of the travelers. Because in those days, the people that traveled, they prayed it shouldn't rain, because it was only dirt roads. And when it rained, it got muddy. And when you got muddy, your wagon got stuck in the mud. So the travelers, the people that had to travel, were always mispalel, it shouldn't rain. And Klal Yisrael needs rain. Yiratza b'fanecha shelo yikansu lefanecha tfilas ovrei drachim. Fragt sich the kasha. So let them daven. Wer sind sie, die ovrei drachim? A solche greise tzadikim? Man hat erschrocken von der greise tzadikim, the ovrei drachim? Ich bin doch der Kohen Gadol. I'm mispalel, it should rain. Was epis? They were so afraid of the tefillas ovrei drachim. Aber noch mehr. The Gemara says in Makis that when a person killed b'shoigeg, person killed accidentally, he had to go to the place called an Ir Miklat, the cities of refuge. V'yoshav shom ad meis haKohen HaGadol. And he had to stay there until the Kohen Gadol died. If the Kohen Gadol died, the person that killed b'shoigeg could go out. If the person who killed b'shoigeg went to the Ir Miklat and the Kohen Gadol died the next week, he's a free man. If he went to the Ir Miklat and the Kohen Gadol lived for the next 40 years, he spends 40 years in the Ir Miklat. It all depends on when the Kohen Gadol dies. Zok the Mishnah, lefichach imesein shel Kohanim Gedolim. The mothers of the Kohanim Gedolim used to prepare packages and peklach and treats for the people in the Ir Miklat. They shouldn't daven that their sons, the Kohanim Gedolim, should die. So they used to prepare them treats and cakes and all the good zachen. You shouldn't be mispalel that my son, the Kohen Gadol, should die. Why it was the mothers that davened and not the wives? So it's an andere kasha. Was ich kann nicht ateres. Aber fragt die Altaf and Kelm. Who are you worried about? The Reitzkim? So good, they killed b'shoigeg. But tzaddikim, they're not. So you're worried about the tefillas of these guys? The Reitzkim? The Hareg b'shoigeg? The teretz is zok the Altaf and Kelm. Because the Reitzkim know, and the travelers know, that there's only one power in the world that controls both rain and life, and that is the Ribbono Shel Olam Alein. And therefore, when a traveler prays that it shouldn't rain, he prays to the Ribbono Shel Olam B'leiv HaNefesh. And when the Reitzkim want the Kohen Gadol to die, there's only one power that they can appeal to, and that's the Ribbono Shel Olam. And therefore they put their heart and their soul and their full faith and credit into their tefillas, and therefore they're effective. But when a person's sick, and he needs an operation, so he gets the best surgeon in New York. Yeah, he's a good surgeon, top man. So you believe in the surgeon. No, I'm mispal sein, there's the hashliach, all lip service. But you believe in the surgeon, you believe in the doctor. And when you need parnasa, you believe in your boss. Because we delude ourselves. And we think that these people are the ones that control. But the Reitzkim and the Yermiklot and the travelers know that only death and rain is totally in the Almighty. And therefore, if you don't believe in your tefillah, it's not as effective. And if you've given up on yourself, you've given up hope, your tefillahs are not the same. And the most potent weapon that all of us possess becomes neutralized because of our lack of faith. And what is so tragic is that we, individually and as a tzibur, we have lost faith in our tefillahs. Because who in this room hasn't davened for a chayla? The chayla died. And who in this room has not davened for Eretz Yisrael? And the tragic situation continues. And who in this room has not davened for their tzrochim and seemingly not to have been answered? And the answer to that is Zok the Heilige Baal Shem Tov, that this is what the Gemara means in Masechta Brachos, that tefillah is midvarim ha'oimdim berumel shal olam u'bnei adam mizalzelin bay. Because we think that we've davened and it doesn't help, and as a result of that we have lost our faith in tefillah. Tefillah is midvarim ha'oimdim berumel shal olam zotach hasam sofer, that sometimes a tefillah helps, maybe not now, but somewhere, someplace, somehow, somewhere, afilu berumel shal olam. But it helps. Maybe not for you, but for someone else. Maybe not now, but sometime in the future. There was a woman, I'll tell you that in a second. Chazon Ish once said a morbidicke thing. Chazon Ish, who died in the 1950s, said that there will become a time that there will be thousands of Balei Tshuva. That when the Chazon Ish was nifter, the word Baal Tshuva, you had to look it up in the dictionary what it meant. There was no such thing. What, the Chazon Ish was a Navi? Chazon Ish was nicht kein Navi. So how did the Chazon Ish know that in the 70s and in the 80s and the 90s and into the 21st century, there are thousands of Balei Tshuva? Thousands! Chazon Ish once said, because in the 1880s and the 1890s, when there were thousands of Jewish kinder that were leaving Yiddishkeit in droves, when people in Volozhin and Slobodka and the other yeshivas left the yeshiva for that which they thought was the utopian world of communism and socialism and humanism and science, and so many thousands of Yidden who learned in yeshiva left yeshivas. Then they became Yiddishists and Bundists and laborists and all the other isms that has affected the world. Thousands and thousands of people left yeshivas. hat der Chazon Ish gesagt, their parents, their Babis and their Zaydis, they went in the shul and they opened up the Aron Kodesh and they said to the Rebbeinu Shalom, hat Rachmanis of mein Kind, hat Rachmanis of mein Enekel, soll zurückkommen. And they prayed and they cried and they poured their hearts out. Und l'chayres is nicht geholfen, it didn't help. They left. Sagt der Heilige Chazon Ish, it helped. It just took 100 years. From 1890 to 1990. And when you see a Baal Tshuva with hair down to his shoulders and rings in his ears and other places and a tattoo on his arm, and he comes into a yeshiva when they're wird a Baal Tshuva or a Talmud Chacham, and you ask, where on earth did this guy come from? He came from Volozhin. And Kelm. And Slobodka. That's where he came from. Because he had a bubba that davened for him. It was Dvarim Ha'im de Baruch L'Shalaylam. It took 100 years. It helped. There was a mice that happened in Eretz Yisrael a few years ago. This family was driving on the West Bank. They were attacked by terrorists. The family survived. A bullet went through the windshield and hit a baby sitting in the back seat. Went into the child's head. They rushed the baby to the hospital. They said the baby has hours. The family davened. They made a vigil. Non-stop davening. Non-stop tefillah by this baby in the intensive care unit. It was such a cause celeb that no less a personage than Ariel Sharon, Rosh HaMemshala, came to the hospital to express his concern for the family. Mr. Sharon comes into the hospital. The security people say, everybody out of the room. Security, Shaila. The mother says to the security guy, either Mr. Sharon comes in here with everybody else and we don't stop to tell him, or thank you, but no thank you, Mr. Sharon. Mr. Sharon, Michael on his security, comes in, puts on a kippah, and Ariel Sharon, b'chvoidoi v'atzma. Sagt a Kapitel Tilla. Shortly thereafter, the baby died. A woman comes to Baltimore, Maryland, the mother of this baby. She speaks in a shul. She says, I want to tell you something. That in those days that we were in that intensive care unit, that pediatric intensive care unit, there were several other families there. The children weren't shot like this, but they ain't shot their machla. And they left. And after my child died, I got a few letters from mothers that were there while we were there. And they said, you know, a miraculous thing happened. Our children got better. So this woman said, and she's not suggesting a definite cause and effect. But who knows? Who knows if all those tefillas, all those tehillim that, quote, didn't help for her baby, but helped for the others. And that's what the Baal Shem Tov means. It's Zvarim ha'olim baruma shalaylam. Tefillas have an effect in heaven, in Shamayim. Where, when, how, for whom, that is only the Rebbeinu Shalom knows. But the next time you daven like you mean it. Because it helps. Somewhere, somehow, someplace. It helps. And hopefully, for all of us. 7 days from now, in the different places that we'll be, we'll read the Megillah. And then what is the most joyous moment of the year? We'll sing Shoshanas Yaakov. And we will sing L'Haidiah Shel Kol Yekivecha Lo Yevaishu V'lo Yekomu L'Netzach Shel Kol Yekivecha. All those people that have tikva in you, that have faith in you, Lo Yevaishu, will no longer be embarrassed. V'lo Yekomu L'Netzach Kol Achaisim.
So I love it sometimes.